Hello, America. It's Erick Erickson. It is October 30th, the day before Halloween, and these are the 4 things you need to know before you get home this afternoon. SNAP benefits are going to go away. Judge Talani, who's an Obama appointee in federal court in Boston, is skeptical of freezing SNAP funds and suggesting she's going to order the Trump administration to spend funds. Whether or not she can actually do that might be subject to appeal. But even in court, the hearing acknowledged that if SNAP funding is unfrozen and emergency funding is used to supplement SNAP funding, it's only going to last for a week or two. SNAP benefits are going to run out. It's just a matter of time within the next couple of weeks. If SNAP funding altogether goes into effect, well, November 1st, that's going to be the deadline. A lot of Americans are going to be hurt because the Democrats refuse to reopen Congress. According to the Washington Post, Americans blame Republicans for the shutdown. That's the headline take that everybody's focused on, that the GOP is blamed. And of course, this is a pressure tactic that's being brought on MSNBC, the Washington Post, the New York Times, and elsewhere, that the Republicans, because the polling blames them, the Republicans should be the ones to cut a deal with the Democrats and reopen the government, or they can just scrap the filibuster and reopen the government. That's what the Democrats actually want, since they don't have the votes to end the filibuster. The GOP is not going to do that. They're going to make the Democrats go with the clean open. So the top line headline, Republicans are blamed for the shutdown. In a couple weeks, Democrats will be asked, why didn't you just do this all along? And that will shift. However, pay attention to the subtitle of the polling. At least it's the bigger bottom line for me than Republicans are getting blamed for shutdown. Republicans always get blamed for the shutdown. What is unusual is the generic ballot for Democrats. It's collapsed to 1%. That means Democrats have a 1% advantage in the generic polling ballot, and typically that actually gives the Republicans an advantage. Even in midterm elections, that would give Republicans a striking advantage. This is not like 2017, where Democrats had a double-digit lead on the generic ballot. They're tied with the Republicans on the generic ballot at a time that most Americans allegedly, or plurality of Americans rather, would blame the Republicans for a government shutdown. The underlying polling does not suggest that's actually the case, and it does suggest, despite people really not liking Donald Trump, they really despise the Democrats. Ryan Routh, the would-be Trump assassin, found guilty in Florida for his attempt to assassinate Donald Trump at his golf course. He's asked Judge Cannon, yes, that Judge Cannon, Eileen Cannon, of the classified documents case, also oversaw Ryan Routh's case. He's asked to be sentenced in a state that allows assisted suicide. There are 11 states that do that. Remember, when he was found guilty, he attempted to stab himself in the neck with a pen in the courtroom to commit suicide. They stopped him. He seems to be suicidal and is telling the court that he doesn't want his death to be in vain if his life can be used to trade a foreign government for an American held hostage or get a Palestinian out of prison or something. That was actually his example, getting a Palestinian out of prison. He would gladly do that. The guy seems to be nuts, unstable, and suicidal, and he wants to have someone help him commit suicide. Don't think the judge is going to move him to a state that commits a suicide. Lastly, Donald Trump has a number of officials moving to military bases. Stephen Miller, Marco Rubio, Kristi Noem, they're the latest. The Atlantic has a big story on this. Now, of course, the Democrats are looking at this as some sort of scandal that the Trump administration officials are living rent-free or subsidized housing, at least some paying rent on military bases around the Washington, D.C. area, and they've missed the obvious point. Trump administration officials are coming under undue harassment from progressive activists. They've been harassed in their homes. Their children have been harassed at schools. Their spouses have been harassed. It's not safe for them to live in public because of progressive activists. And of course, the left doesn't want to highlight this. The Atlantic doesn't want to highlight this. But this is a dangerous situation for Trump administration officials who simply cannot live in public areas because left-wing activists have turned so violent. And the left's response, of course, is to downplay the violence and say, well, if they were doing what they were doing, they wouldn't have anything to worry about it, which is a funny way of saying if you gave the left what they wanted, things would be fine. They're using violence as a way to try to persuade Trump administration officials to give them what they want, and it's not going to work. So the Trump officials have moved to military bases in the Atlantic, and progressives are upset. They've been moved to secure facilities where they can't be harassed and possibly killed by the left. That tells you everything you need to know about the left and the Atlantic these days, which also continues to use Judge Michael Luttig's insane ramblings and hatred of Donald Trump to bring credibility to their Trump fever dreams. These are the 4 things you need to know this afternoon. I am Erick Erickson. There will be no video podcast tomorrow. I've got to be traveling, but we will get you the 4 things to know tomorrow afternoon. Please, in the meantime, stay safe, stay engaged. Please keep the faith. And remember, since I won't be here to tell you tomorrow, the decision to go to church on Sunday is a decision you make on Saturday, and I hope you'll make it. Have a great weekend.